Caught Fiancée texting her ex she misses him. I called off the wedding and ghosted her. I'm Ryan, 26, and for the past 3 years I've been engaged to the love of my life, Amy. Or at least that's what I thought until today. We've been together for 5 years, living together for 2, and next month we were supposed to tie the knot. I was certain she was my soulmate. But now, as I sit here writing this, I realize how wrong I was. It all started innocently enough. Amy had a short work trip planned, a 2-day conference in Chicago. She works as a project manager for a tech firm, so these trips weren't uncommon. I wasn't suspicious. I trusted her. I loved her. While Amy was away, I decided to take a break from work myself. I run a small graphic design business, and with things going relatively smoothly, I figured I'd spend some time catching up on personal stuff. Bills, emails, things I usually put off. We share a home computer in the living room, and since my laptop was acting up, I decided to use hers. I opened the browser, fully intending to check my emails. As the screen lit up, I noticed a notification from her Facebook Messenger. The name that popped up stopped me in my tracks. Jason. Amy's ex-boyfriend from college. Now, I'm not the jealous type, and Amy had always been upfront about her past. She told me about Jason when we first started dating. They had been together for 3 years, but she assured me their breakup was mutual, and that they hadn't spoken in years. He lived out of state, and according to her, they had grown apart. But here was his name, right in front of me. I hesitated. Part of me thought, maybe it's nothing. But curiosity got the better of me. I clicked on the message, my heart pounding in my chest. What I read felt like a punch to the gut. Hey, I miss you so much. Remember that night by the lake? God, I still think about it. That was Jason's message. But worse than that were Amy's replies. I miss you too. I think about us all the time. That night was unforgettable. Just like you. My hand started shaking as I scrolled up. I wanted to believe this was just an innocent exchange, maybe even a joke, but it wasn't. Conversation had been going on for months. In message after message, she poured her heart out to him. She talked about how she missed their time together, how she sometimes wondered what could have been if they hadn't broken up. She even mentioned me, a casual reference that stung deeper than anything else. I don't know why I'm marrying Ryan. He's great, but sometimes I wonder if I'm making the right choice. I sat there, numb. My mind was racing, trying to process what I was seeing. How could this be happening? Amy, the woman I was supposed to spend the rest of my life with, had been secretly texting her ex, telling him she missed him, questioning our relationship. I felt sick. At that moment, everything I thought I knew about Amy crumbled. The trust, the love, the future we were planning. It all felt like a lie. My hands clenched into fists as anger and heartbreak washed over me in waves. But I didn't know what to do. Should I confront her? Should I wait until she came back? Did I just leave? I didn't move from the chair for what felt like hours, staring at the screen, hoping it was a nightmare I'd soon wake up from. But it wasn't. It was real. I grabbed my phone, staring at her contact. The urge to call her, scream at her, demand an explanation was overwhelming. But instead, I took a deep breath and put the phone down. I didn't want to make any rash decisions, not yet. Instead, I decided to gather my thoughts and plan. I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't gonna marry her. The wedding was officially off. There was no coming back from this betrayal. No fixing what she'd done. But how I would handle it, that was still undecided. I logged out of her messenger and sat back in the chair, trying to calm myself down. My mind was spinning with 1,000 thoughts. None of them good. How long had this been going on? Did she ever love me? Was I just a backup plan? I wanted answers, but at the same time I didn't. Some part of me didn't want to know how deep the betrayal went. Some part of me wanted to walk away and never look back. I spent the rest of the night in a daze. Every message I had read replayed in my mind like a cruel movie I couldn't turn off. I lay in bed, unable to sleep, thinking about all the plans we had made together. Wedding, honeymoon, the future. All seemed meaningless now. When Amy called me that night to check in, I let it go to voicemail. I couldn't talk to her. Not yet. She left a cheerful message, asking how my day was and saying she missed me. The irony wasn't lost on me. The next day, I woke up early, exhausted and emotionally drained. Amy would be back tomorrow, and I still had no idea what I was going to do. All I knew was that our relationship was over, whether she realized it yet or not. As I sat at the kitchen table, staring blankly at the engagement ring I had picked out just a year ago, one thing became clear. I wasn't just calling off the wedding. I was walking away from her entirely. I didn't need a confrontation. I didn't need her excuses. I didn't need closure. I needed to be done. And so, I made my decision. When Amy returned home, she would find me gone, along with everything that tied me to her. I wasn't going to wait for an explanation. I didn't need one. I was going to ghost her. The morning after I made my decision, everything felt sharper, more real. The house, once filled with shared memories, now felt like a hollow shell, each corner reminding me of the love I thought we had. That love was tainted now, a facade hiding something much darker. I knew what I had to do. I had to leave, and I had to do it before Amy came back from her trip. There was no turning back. I grabbed a duffel bag from the closet and began packing. Essentials only. Clothes, my laptop, few sentimental items that weren't tied to Amy. Everything else, it could stay. I didn't want to bring any part of this life with me when I walked out the door. As I packed, I mentally ran through my plan. Amy was due back tomorrow evening, which gave me a full day to disappear. My savings were decent, and I had a few places I could stay. Old friends who wouldn't ask too many questions. I decided not to tell anyone yet, though. Fewer people knew, the better. After stuffing the last of my things into the bag, I sat down with my phone. My heart raced as I scrolled through our messages, wondering if there were any clues I had missed before. Was there some moment where things went wrong that I hadn't seen? I didn't have the strength to go down that rabbit hole again. I deleted the entire thread, a symbolic gesture that felt more liberating than I expected. Next, I opened my email and began the grueling task of canceling everything. Venues, the caterer, the photographer, all of it. Felt surreal. Just days ago, I was excitedly confirming details, making sure everything would be perfect for the wedding. Now, it was all unraveling. As I hit send on the last cancellation, I felt a strange sense of relief. This was it, the final step before I could walk away. I glanced at the engagement ring on the table one last time before slipping it into an envelope. I addressed it to Amy and placed it on her bedside table, knowing she'd find it the second she got home. No note, no explanation. She didn't deserve one. By the afternoon, everything was set. I had packed, canceled the wedding, and left no trace of myself in our home. I stood in the doorway for a moment, taking one final look at the place where I had imagined my future. It was bittersweet, but I knew it was for the best. As I walked out the door, I didn't feel broken anymore. Felt free. The following day, I woke up in a small but cozy rented apartment on the outskirts of the city. It wasn't much, but it was mine for the time being, and that's all that mattered. I had already set up a temporary workspace in the corner, and as I sipped my coffee, I found a semblance of peace in the quiet of this new space. I hadn't heard from Amy yet. I didn't expect to immediately, but I knew the call would come soon. I braced myself for it, trying to focus on the things I could control, re-establishing my routine, reconnecting with friends, and planning my next steps. The day dragged on as I settled in. I unpacked a few boxes, made the place feel a little more like home, and tried to ignore the gnawing worry in the back of my mind. The worst part was the silence. I was used to Amy's constant presence, her laughter, her voice. Now it felt like an eerie void. Late in the afternoon, my phone buzzed with a new message. It was from an unknown number. I opened it, and my heart sank when I saw Amy's name. The message was short, but filled with confusion and hurt. "Ryan, where are you? I'm home. Why aren't you here? We need to talk." I didn't reply immediately. Part of me wanted to ignore it altogether, to let the silence stretch on and force her to confront her actions on her own. But the rational part of me knew I had to respond, if only to keep things clear and to prevent her from showing up at my new place. "I'm sorry, Amy. I don't think we have anything left to say. I needed to move on." Her response came almost instantly, and it was laced with desperation. "Please, Ryan, just talk to me. I need to understand what's happening." I debated for a moment, but decided to be straightforward. I owed her that much, even if it was just a brief explanation. "I saw the messages from Jason. I don't think there's anything left to salvage between us. I hope you understand why I had to leave." The reply was immediate, but it was more pleading than confrontational. Ryan, I messed up. I didn't mean for any of this to happen. It was a mistake, but I love you. Please, let's talk about it. I hesitated. Part of me wanted to hear her out to get some form of closure, but I reminded myself why I left in the first place. We were beyond talking. We were beyond fixing things. No, Amy, I've made my decision. I need to move forward, and that means leaving the past behind. I turned off my phone and put it aside. There was no sense in prolonging the agony. I needed to focus on building my new life, not revisiting old wounds. Over the next few days, I slowly began to adjust to my new reality. I reached out to old friends and started reconnecting with them, enjoying the support and comfort of familiar faces. I even started working on a few new design projects, which helped distract me from the emotional turmoil. One evening, as I was sitting on the small balcony of my apartment, sipping a glass of wine, I found myself reflecting on the past few days. It wasn't easy, but there was a sense of satisfaction in taking control of my life and making choices for myself. I realized that this was my chance to redefine who I was, to start over without the shadows of my past holding me back. It was an opportunity to discover new passions, explore new relationships, and ultimately find happiness on my own terms. As the sun set over the city, I took a deep breath and embraced the uncertainty of the future. It was a blank canvas, and for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was ready to paint it with my own colors. Few weeks passed since I had moved into my new apartment, and life began to take on a new rhythm. My days were filled with work, social outings, and the occasional introspective moment. I had started to adjust to the solitude, finding solace in the small victories of each day. The pain of leaving Amy behind was still there, but it had dulled into a manageable ache. One evening, as I walked through a local park, enjoying the crisp fall air, my phone buzzed with an incoming call. It was from Jess, an old friend from college whom I hadn't spoken to in years. Her timing was uncanny. I hadn't expected to hear from her, but her call was a welcome distraction from my daily routine. Ryan, it's been ages. Jess's voice was cheerful, and I could hear the excitement in her tone. Hey Jess, it really has. What's up? I asked, trying to sound as enthusiastic as she was. I was just thinking about you. I heard you moved to a new place and thought I'd check in. Are you free this weekend? I'd love to catch up and maybe get dinner. I agreed, glad for the opportunity to reconnect. Jess had always been a positive presence in my life, and I looked forward to seeing her. The weekend arrived, and we met at a cozy restaurant downtown. Jess looked as radiant as ever, energy infectious. Over dinner, we reminisced about old times, shared updates on our lives, and laughed about our college escapades. It was refreshing to be in the company of someone who knew me well, but hadn't been part of the recent turbulence in my life. So, how's life treating you? Jess asked as we enjoyed dessert. I hesitated for a moment, unsure of how much to reveal. It's been a bit of a roller coaster, honestly. I recently ended a long-term relationship. It was tough, but I'm working on moving forward. Jess's eyes softened with understanding. I'm sorry to hear that. Breakups are never easy, but it sounds like you're handling it with a lot of grace. Thanks, I said, appreciating her empathy. I'm trying to focus on the positives and rediscovering what makes me happy. As the evening wound down, Jess suggested we continue our conversation over coffee sometime. I agreed, feeling a renewed sense of hope that I could build new connections and find joy in unexpected places. The next week, I began to feel a new rhythm in my life. Work was going well, and I started to explore the city more, discovering charming cafes, art galleries, and local events. I even took up a new hobby: photography. It was something I had always been interested in, but never had the time to pursue. One Saturday morning, I ventured to a local photography workshop. It was a small group, and I quickly found myself immersed in the creative process. The instructor was passionate, and the other participants were eager and engaged. It felt good to be part of something new and to challenge myself in different ways. As the weeks turned into months, I began to notice a shift within myself. Constant anxiety and sadness that had plagued me after the breakup were gradually replaced with a sense of contentment and excitement for the future. I was rediscovering who I was outside of a relationship, and it felt liberating. One chilly evening, as I was wrapping up a photo shoot in the park, I ran into Jess again. She had been on a walk and spotted me from a distance. "Hey Ryan, fancy meeting you here," I called out with a warm smile. "Hey Jess, good to see you. How's everything going?" I asked, genuinely curious. "Great, actually. I've been thinking about how much I've missed our conversations. I'm glad we reconnected." "Me too," I said, feeling a genuine connection. "Been really nice having you back in my life." As we chatted, I realized how important it was to have people who understood and supported me. Jess's presence was a reminder that even in the midst of change and uncertainty, there were still meaningful connections to be made and cherished. With each passing day, I felt more confident in my new path. Life was unpredictable, and while I couldn't control everything, I could embrace the journey and look forward to the possibilities it held. The future was still uncertain. For the first time in a long while, I was excited to see where it would lead. The city was beginning to show signs of winter, with the first hints of frost appearing on the sidewalks and holiday decorations brightening up the streets. My new apartment had become a cozy sanctuary, and I found comfort in the routine of my life, though there were still moments of reflection about what I had left behind. The breakup with Amy was an chapter I was learning to navigate with a mix of acceptance and curiosity about what lay ahead. One crisp December morning, I received an unexpected email from an old client of mine, Jennifer, who had heard through mutual connections about my recent work in photography. She had a project in mind and wanted to discuss it. Jennifer was a well-regarded event planner, known for her high-profile clients and extravagant parties. We met at a charming coffee shop downtown. Jennifer was as lively as ever, with a natural grace that made her a magnet for attention. Over steaming mugs of coffee, she explained her project. "I'm organizing a charity gala for a cause that's very close to my heart. I need someone to capture the essence of the event. Moments of joy, elegance of the venue, and the connections people make. I've seen your recent work, and I think you'd be perfect." I was intrigued. The opportunity was exciting, not just for the professional challenge, but also for the chance to be involved in something meaningful. I accepted, and we began planning the details for the event. As the gala approached, I threw myself into preparation, attending venue walkthroughs, coordinating with Jennifer, and refining my photography skills. The event was set to be held at a stunning historic mansion, and the thought of capturing its beauty, alongside the spirit of the charity, filled me with anticipation. On the night of the gala, the mansion was transformed into a winter wonderland. Elegant decorations adorned every corner, and the air was filled with a sense of celebration and generosity. I moved through the crowd with my camera, capturing candid moments of laughter, heartfelt conversations, and the overall atmosphere of the evening. Around halfway through the event, as I was taking photos of the silent auction, I noticed someone standing by the grand piano, gazing out at the crowd with a thoughtful expression. It was Jess. I hadn't expected to see her there. "Hey Jess, I didn't know you were coming," I said, approaching her with a smile. She turned, surprised but pleased to see me. "Oh, hi Ryan. I was invited by a friend who's involved in the charity. I'm actually volunteering for the event." "That's great," I said, genuinely happy to see her there. "The gala is incredible. I'm really enjoying capturing it all." Jess's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm. "I'm glad to hear that. Been a wonderful experience so far." As the evening progressed, Jess and I found ourselves spending more time together. Talked about our mutual interests, shared stories, and enjoyed the festive ambiance of the gala. It felt natural and easy, as though no time had passed since our last meeting. By the end of the night, as the event was winding down and the guests began to depart, Jess and I stood on the mansion's grand staircase, overlooking the room filled with joyful chatter and the glow of the holiday lights. "I'm really glad we reconnected, Ryan," Jess said, her voice sincere. "This evening has been wonderful, and it's been nice to catch up with you." "Me too, Jess," I replied. "It's been refreshing and comforting to have you back in my life." We exchanged a warm hug, and I felt a genuine sense of contentment. Jess had become a symbol of new beginnings for me, and her presence was a reminder that positive connections could emerge from unexpected places. As the gala concluded, I packed up my equipment with a sense of fulfillment. The event had been a success, and the photographs I had taken captured the true spirit of the evening. Jennifer was thrilled with the results, and I felt a renewed sense of purpose in my work. Driving home, I reflected on the journey that had brought me to this point. Challenges, the pain, and the changes, all been part of a larger process of growth and self-discovery. While the past was still a part of me, I was learning to embrace the present and look forward to the future. The winter air was brisk as I walked up the stairs to my apartment. I knew that new opportunities awaited, and with each step I felt a little more hopeful about what was to come. Life was unpredictable, but I was ready to face it with an open heart and a renewed sense of possibility. The winter had turned into spring, and the city was coming alive with color. The first signs of blooming flowers and longer daylight hours brought a sense of renewal that I desperately needed. The charity gala had been a turning point for me, a chance to embrace change and find solace in new beginnings. My photography business was flourishing, and Jess had become a significant part of my life. We had been spending more time together over the past few months. Our connection had deepened, and what had started as a reconnection had grown into something more meaningful. We shared laughter, supported each other through challenges, and enjoyed the simple moments of life together. Our relationship felt natural and unforced, a stark contrast to the turbulence I had experienced before. One Friday evening, after a long week of work, Jess and I decided to take a weekend trip to a quaint little town a few hours outside the city. We had talked about getting away for a while, and this seemed like the perfect opportunity to relax and explore together. As we drove through the scenic countryside, the anticipation of a fresh adventure filled the car. The town was charming, cobblestone streets, cozy cafes, and local shops that seemed to embrace the spirit of a slower pace of life. We checked into a charming bed and breakfast, a picturesque building with ivy-clad walls and a welcoming atmosphere. The innkeeper, a warm woman named Margaret, greeted us with homemade cookies and a smile. "You're in for a treat," Margaret said as she handed us the keys. "This town is known for its beautiful trails and local cuisine. There's a farmer's market tomorrow morning if you're interested." Jess and I thanked her and settled into our room, which had a stunning view of the rolling hills. After freshening up, we ventured out to explore the town. We wandered through the farmer's market, sampled local produce, and enjoyed the small-town charm. The day was filled with laughter and easy conversation, a welcome break from the demands of city life. As the sun began to set, we decided to have dinner at a cozy bistro recommended by Margaret. The restaurant was intimate, candlelit tables, and a menu full of comfort. Over a delicious meal of roasted vegetables and homemade pasta, Jess and I talked about our dreams and aspiration. It's amazing how different life can be when you open yourself up to new experiences, Jess said thoughtfully. I never expected to find such a deep connection with someone again. I smiled, feeling the same way. Me neither. Been a journey, but it's led us to something special. I feel like I'm finally where I'm supposed to be. After dinner, we took a leisurely stroll through the town, the evening air crisp and refreshing. The stars were beginning to twinkle in the clear sky, and we walked hand in hand, savoring the peacefulness of the moment. We reached a small park with a beautifully lit fountain at its center. Jess stopped and looked at me with a thoughtful expression. "Ryan, there's something I've been wanting to talk to you about." I looked at her, curiosity piqued. "What is it?" "I've been thinking a lot about our future," she said, her voice gentle but firm. "About where we're heading and what we want together. I know we've been taking things one day at a time, but I think it's important to talk about what we want." I nodded, feeling a sense of anticipation. "I agree. I've been thinking about it too. What's on your mind?" Jess took a deep breath, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the fountain. "I want to build a future with you, Ryan. I've never felt this way about anyone before, and I'm ready to take the next step in our relationship. I want us to be together, not just for now, but for the long haul." Her words touched me deeply. I had never felt so sure about anything in my life. The past months with Jess had been transformative, and I knew I wanted the same future she envisioned. "I feel the same way, Jess," I said, my voice steady. I found something in you that I didn't know I was missing. I want to build a future with you too. I'm ready for that." Jess's face lit up with a radiant smile, and we embraced, the warmth of the moment enveloping us. The fountain's gentle splashing provided a soothing backdrop to our heartfelt exchange. The next day we explored the town further, visiting local attractions and enjoying each other's company. We returned to the bed and breakfast feeling content and connected. That evening, as we relaxed in our cozy room, I found myself reflecting on the journey that had brought me here. I thought about Amy and the pain I had experienced, the realization of her betrayal, and the subsequent journey of self-discovery. It had been a difficult path, but it had led me to a place of understanding and growth. I had learned the importance of self-worth and the value of embracing new opportunities. Jess had been a beacon of light in that process, someone who had helped me rediscover joy and trust. Our relationship was a testament to the idea that even after the darkest moments, there was always the potential for new beginnings and happiness. As we lay together that night, Jess's head resting on my chest, I felt a deep sense of peace. We talked about our plans, dreams, and the future we wanted to build together. The conversation was filled with hope and excitement, clear reflection of the bond we shared. The following morning, we packed up and prepared to head back to the city. As we drove away from the charming town, I looked at Jess, feeling grateful for the journey we had taken together. "I'm excited for what's ahead," I said, reaching over to hold her hand. "Whatever comes next, I know we'll face it together." Jess squeezed my hand and smiled. "Me too. Let's embrace every moment and make the most of this new chapter in our lives." The city welcomed us back with its familiar hustle and bustle, but the time away had provided a renewed perspective. My photography business continued to thrive, and Jess and I were ready to face the future with confidence and optimism. The past was a part of me, but it no longer defined who I was. I had found a new sense of purpose and a love that felt right. With Jess by my side and a heart full of hope, I was ready to embrace the new horizon that lay before me. And so, with the spring sunshine warming the city streets, I looked forward to the journey ahead, knowing that life's unpredictability led me to a place of fulfillment and joy.